The long time caused the wall to collapse, and Freya knew that she couldn't transmit it, but she still called him in the northwest direction exposed in front of the column, towards the amphitheater. No, Otter said in his heart very regretfully, bowing his head to the goddess. It's just that now I can't obey her. What should I be worrying about the will of my god? Unable to turn his back on these people's will to defeat him, the male samurai still roared with the eyes of the beast. The fierce power was even more strengthened at this moment, causing Bell and the others' faces to distort with tremors. Just like them, the warrior in front of him was also injured. The serious injuries caused before the beast transformation still existed, and now they are also fighting Mia and others who resemble LV-7, so it is impossible to remain unharmed. This steel flesh is indeed gradually entering a crisis. Even so, he still won't fall. Like a nightmare, the man kept launching attacks that swept everything away. Overwhelmed by Otter's aura, the boy retreated. Even so, he still shouted imposingly that he must never lose. He landed a blow all over his body. Now it's a death that even a giant can overcome, but the enemy hits back like a bat. What a monster! The man in front of him is a true samurai. He really survived the Zeus and Hera families. In this era, the man who endured the most mud of humiliation never gave up and finally gained strength, and now he is about to use this strength to crush the enemy. As long as you wipe lightly, you can easily crush the windpipe. He is both a loser and a winner. No matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't defeat the man. Even if he broke through the limit, victory was still not achieved. Faced with him roaring, screaming back, dripping saliva mixed with bubbles of blood and wanting to swallow himself and others, the young man felt the deepest terror of his short career. Even so, all the skills were used. The strategy didn't work in the first place. The skill is not as good as the opponent's. The conditions for defeat have been met, and Bell still has the only weapon left at this moment, his will. Miss Seer too. A girl who is rumored to have died. She who has been helping and supporting herself, he decided to hurt her with his own hands, in order to save her later. He sublimated this ugly selfish desire into a boundless fighting spirit, turning it into a decisive blow. White fantasy flashed. The flame shot up. As if to drive away all the so-called terror, he ignited his entire body with consciousness and determination. I have set a time to save that person. Hestia's blade seemed to be echoing him, launching a deep purple slash, striking the top of the pitch-black sword and biting into Otter. Panting, Hayden looked at the scene. Uncomfortable sweat dripped down. A mental exhaustion that he hadn't felt in decades was approaching. From the annihilation of Hythe and his complete Cinderellas, he had used magic more times than anyone else, and the backlash that followed caused Hayden's mental power, which had the most in the city, to be on the verge of exhaustion. Hayden knew that it would soon lose its effect, so he looked. Looking at the figure of the youth who was too young to bear it, too stupid to look directly at, but still struggling. Hayden doesn't have the eyes of a goddess, he can't see the color of the soul. I don't know what kind of glow that is. But he knew that the source of that pure white roar must be something transparent and flawless. I'm very upset. You want to poison me. Even though he was the weakest person, he showed the boldest will to fight against, the strongest, resounding throughout. Ryu and Mia also followed him. The marked sides and back lead the adventurers forward. The sight was almost like a ship sailing on the great sea, more majestic than anything. That idiot will definitely not choose to be the Ord. No, he can't choose. If he had chosen that, things wouldn't have gotten so troublesome. Because he didn't make that choice, he was the only one who could make her notice. It's too hateful to bear. But surely, even so, that stupid boy will become the one who saves her, as Hayden predicted. Okay. I agree with you. Hayden laughed. The people, adventurers, and God smiled faintly where no one paid attention. Hayden, get out of here. Hearing Mia's scream, he came back to his senses. Approaching in front of him was a beast. Otter broke through the vanguard and wanted to defeat Hayden first, who was gradually approaching the limit. But this was within his expectations. Hayden had already guessed that Otter wouldn't give up on his useless self, and quickly constructed a super short corner. Varian Hilda. The thunder cannon was fired from very close range. Using himself as bait, cast the last hook and feed it with the inescapable blast of thunder. Direct hit. Is this great? Ryu's voice watching, and Bell's smile shouting happily, created a crack. Heading also froze. He was bathed in the turbid current of thunder, first being swallowed by it and then squeezed to the sides and came forward. Hayden rode Desalia horizontally with the speed of a possessed god, and then the long-handled knife and herself were cut open. Fatal wound. Blood as hot as if it wasn't his spurted out, and Hayden's back was sucked into the ground. At this moment his pupils reflected the figure of the beast that was about to strike the second blow. Master. Bell turned into light. Accelerating with all his strength, he reached out to rescue the one who was very disoriented. It wasn't the sword strike that touched Hayden's shoulder first, but the young man's fingertips. The sword that failed to catch the elf split the ground, and the next moment, the impact like an explosion shook the eardrums. Hayden was pushed out, and Bell was also sent flying. Bell. Hayden. Mr. Bell. The voices of Ryu, Mia, and Hestia disappeared in the depth of the smoke from the explosion. Bell continued to roll on the completely destroyed stage, and he couldn't even tell the front, back, left, and right sides, much less Hayden's position. He grabbed the buzzing head and stood up. Master. In the depth of the field of vision, the Boar Man could be seen standing there leisurely in the center. To the left and right were Ryu and Mia, and further away were Hestia and Haruheim. What are they talking about? But nothing could be heard. He couldn't ignore the eyes of the beast looking this way, but he still wanted to make sure that Hayden was okay, and was about to look around, but at this moment. Look ahead. In a world where nothing could be heard, this sentence was the only one that could be heard clearly. Go save her. A trembling arm, as if it no longer had the strength to teach others, touched Bell's back. The voice that would disappear at any moment weaved enchantments. Eternal eternity, singing. Immortal, holy maiden, said this magic name. Loris healed. Shocked. Lightning. Wake up. Blessings wrapped in thunder robes all over the body. Hayden's third and final magic. When activated, it heals the target's injuries like a holy healer and grants the blessing of thunder. It is a rare magic. He exchanged all his mental power for this power and entrusted it to himself, causing Bell's pupils to open to the limit. Go quickly. Stupid apprentice. He became excited. With thunder and lightning guarding his entire body, he shook off all the emotions that filled his chest and head. No tears will be shed. Never look at the Dementor, who has fallen to the ground. The palm was pressed against his back, as if to send him forward, and it seemed to be pushed by this palm. The boy turned into a thunder. Ah! The distance between him and the warrior, in front of his line of sight instantly disappeared, and the twin thunder swords quickly swept past. Faced with the anxiously swaying sea of lightning, Otter hurriedly used the black greatsword as a shield. Fierce lightning and thunder were born. Abnormal speed was also born. Bell, who was constantly exuding the phenomenon of electric discharge, was the incarnation of thunder and lightning, and launched an attack at Otter with a speed even faster than that of LV-7 Ryu.